Welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Geltrude. Dan, thanks for coming on. Lots to unwrap here. Boy, it's taken the world by storm. It's unfortunate, but it happened.
Yeah, but look, Scott, corporate scandals and crises, I mean, this is not uncommon. It happens. Yes, this is a juicy story, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst thing that can happen to a company. Let's start with this. Before this whole ColdPlay KissCam thing happened, no one even heard of Astronomer.
Right.
So to start with, I mean, you know, everybody now knows who they are. So this is one of those times where you can't let an opportunity to let a good crisis go to waste, as they say. So now the spotlight is on Astronomer. So what they do next really matters. So leadership is critical for saving the long-term brand rebuilding. Look, this company, by the way, which started in 2015, Scott, this is a unicorn, right? This is a startup that went to $1 billion. So this company has some promise. So it all depends on how they handle things going forward, because it is an opportunity for them to really, you know, make a name for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, whether it was planned or not, I'm sure there's this conspiracy theorists out there that say the thing was all planned anyway. But I seem to remember, whether it was McDonald's maybe or Coca-Cola, where there was something similar that happened at the top there, and the CEO had to step down within the last 10 years. Am I correct there?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When you talk about when corporations have to deal with really big things. Let's go back, Scott, and I'm sure you remember this. Let's go back to 1982, which to me, with J&J, with Tylenol, probably one of the greatest corporate crises anybody had ever seen. And just to refresh everyone's memory is, you go back, and that's when there was cyanide poisoning in Tylenol capsules. You had 7 people die. The company had to go through a full recall of all their products, or Tylenol products, but they had transparent communication. They totally changed the way packaging of products works. And what happened after everything was done? They regained public trust, which was incredible. So it can be done, Scott.
Yeah, I absolutely remember that very vividly, and I do remember the feeling of that company's cooked, and there's no way anybody's going to buy Tylenol again. And you're right. Now that business case is used in a lot of business schools across the country and college of how to handle a crises like what Astronomer is going through now.
Yeah, I mean, they really, Scott, set the playbook for how to handle these things. So let's go over really what Astronomer needs to do, or really any corporation that gets caught up in either a scandal or a true crisis. And by the way, I don't really think this company is in crisis. They certainly have a scandal they have to deal with, right. But a lot of this, Scott, is more of a joke. It has nothing to do with the quality of their products, so that's actually a good thing. But here's what they need. They need swift leadership action, right? Because they have to restore trust in the company. Transparent communication. They got to control the narrative of what's being said. They also obviously need some cultural reform, right, in their business, because they want to show that they can prevent occurrences like this from happening. They got to focus on their values, right, which means they got to do some ethical training amongst the entire employee base, and they got to focus on the long-term brand rebuilding, right? So you want to use this opportunity of all this public relations to shift the focus and tell people what it is that you do, and why what happened at a ColdPlay concert has nothing to do with how they run their company.
You know, that's Oscar Wilde, right? All publicity is good publicity, whether bad or not. And do you think, like you just mentioned, there is an opportunity for them to use this publicity to the betterment of Astronomer and to get them name out there even more and have people now start to wake up and know what they do? Or is that something that's too fleeting to really get your teeth into?
Well, how long is this story going to be around for? Well, based on all the memes and everything, this is probably going to be one of these things that's going to be recurring. So they're going to be in the news for a while. So I believe they really do have an opportunity. As I said right when we started, Scott, who the hell knew who they were to start with?
Nobody.
Now everybody knows. So look, they got to talk about the fact that Apple, Uber, Ford, these are the companies that these guys are doing business with. They have an opportunity to tell their story about 2015 startup. Now they're $1 billion company in 10 years. It is a story to tell, less KissCam.
Well, they should grab onto it as they can. They're never going to get more front and center in the public eye than they are right now. So they better strike while that iron's hot and make sure that they make some hay while they can and turn the whole thing around and turn that into a positive story. You're right about it. It's really good that it's actually not a bad product story. It's a bad behavior story, and that's a lot better than, I guess, a bad product story. Awesome to have you on. Great idea to have that for the show, Dan. Loved every second of it. Dan Geltrude coming to us from Nutley, New Jersey. He's America's accountant. Thanks for being on the show.